iGrok here. I know it's been a long time. I don't know why I said long like that. Time since I made a video, but I really wanted this video to come out correct. I wanted it to be formatted properly, and I actually went through a slew of different ideas before I finally came to this one. So this will be my fourth video, and 4 is my favorite number, so I feel like it's a good opportunity to explain the punctuation surrounding being in my channel's title, iGrok Beyond Being. Essentially, I'm trying to get others to view being as a more active condition of existence, instead of a state of being. States seem static, and the body, the emotions, the thoughts, they're always moving. They, in fact, never stop. Not even memories. Memories are not even static. If you just look up how memories are actually stored in the brain, it's constant communication. So essentially, again, you can think about the way that I phrase being as be as a static thing, like what are you? I am a human being. But you can also think of it as an active way, as in what are you doing? I am being, or I am being human. Essentially, what you do, what you do on a daily basis, you are being human. Every action that you do, you are not being a dog, because if you were being a dog, you would be doing different things. But you are being human. And that means everything that you do, whether it comes to thoughts, emotions, your spiritual processes, your physical sensations, all of these things are active, and you have some iota of influence, not necessarily control, but influence over these processes. So again, that's the whole idea behind the name. I am being, meaning that I exist and I am doing something, and actively doing something which influences the nature of my existence. And I really wanted to get into the nature of being within this video, or more specifically, the conditions of being. And I wanted to address four major conditions as I see them: the physical being, cognitive being, the emotional being, and the spiritual being. And I know a lot of people, you know, when you talk about spirit, a lot of people don't really know what to think. They don't know what image to conjure in their head, what feeling, what sensation, what is the spirit, how do I interact with it, is it outside, is it inside? I am here to tell you today the spirit is just as present as the physical. As a matter of fact, any separation of the spirit and the physical, you need to get rid of that idea. Right now, they're not separated at all. It's only a matter of how much you're able to experience or perceive it. And hopefully, by the end of this video, and through practice on your own part, you'll be able to experience your spirit a little more palpably. So let's start with the physical being. The physical being is predominantly, that was weird, it's predominantly expressed through feelings. And when I say feelings, I do not mean emotions. I mean physical sensations: hot, cold, hard, soft, other feelings that I can't think of. I was looking at my hand trying to think of feelings. I can't think of any other feeling. But essentially, your feelings are going to, your body encounters some type of stimuli. It converts that interaction to a signal. That signal is called your feelings. And essentially, the amalgam of all those feelings, of all those sensations, you can think of that as your physical condition. That is your physical condition of being, the summation or the amalgam of all of these sensations that I'm experiencing. Now, you can talk about physical states of being, but in order to do so, you then have to separate these physical conditions by nature of affect, duration, when it occurred, and the intent, amongst other things. You can separate it honestly by anything, but it is only when physical conditions are separated that they become physical states, because then they are static and they're non-changing. So again, that is your physical being. And then you have your emotional being, and your emotional being is essentially going to express the affect of your feelings. So how your feelings feel to you, the goodness or the badness of your feelings, is going to be expressed through your emotions. But your emotions also have another aspect to them, and that is the reflection of your thoughts about the feelings. So essentially your emotional condition is an amalgam of your feelings and your thoughts of those feelings. And that, is a good segue. And the same thing goes with emotional state. As soon as you separate those into affect, duration, time, intent, then you get physical states. Again, amongst other things, you can separate them with whatever you desire, but it is the separation in order to allow for a static existence that creates a state as opposed to a condition. In the way that I'm looking at it, at least. And going on from emotions, you then have your cognition. Your cognition is a space for processing. Your cognition allows you to process consciously, your feelings and your emotions. Those things can be consciously processed, but you also have the primary purpose of cognition, which is processing these things for decisive action or inaction. And there are many other things you can process in your consciousness, but we're just sticking to these 4 things right now for simplicity's sake. So yes, your cognition is a space for processing consciously for decisive action or inaction. And that is expressed primarily through your thoughts. And it's very, very easy to understand. But think about it. When we talk about conditions, your cognitive condition or your cognitive state of being, some food for the interested viewer. Think about how do you actually distinguish between one thought and another thought? And you can say, well, I know this thought is that thought because I thought it, but try to explain it to someone who doesn't understand thoughts. And if you find a good way to explain it, please comment down below. I'm really curious. It's something I've been thinking about lately. Really, what is sort of the affect around differentiating a single thought from another thought without necessarily emotion, for instance? Because that's the answer I came up with, is your emotion, your feelings distinguish thoughts. But again, I leave that question to you. And then moving on from cognition, what we have something similar to cognition is your spirit. Your spirit, often people think of your spirit similar to your soul. Your soul and your spirit are 2 different things. They are, I'll explain it this way. Your soul can be thought of as your true self. If you want to speak scientifically, it is your unconscious self. It is the part of your being that is most true to you, in a sense, to yourself. And your spirit is essentially a place for manifesting into being. Just like your cognition, when you're thinking, it's a cognitive space that you utilize in order to decide action in the physical realm. Your spirit is a place for you to manifest into reality, literally manifesting into reality. Now, manifesting doesn't mean making something appear out of nothing. You still have to abide by certain laws and principles of the universe, which the 7 hermetic principles, I'll get into that in another video. But essentially, like I said, spirit is a place for manifesting into my being. So what internally I am manifesting, but it also is a place where I can determine what needs to be done in order to manifest outside of my being. All right, so with that being said, I think I can go ahead and close this one out. I think just a last point, I brought up authority in this video, and I brought up, the idea of manifesting by utilizing the authority that you rightfully have. But essentially, you can think of the spiritual being and the cognitive being as seats of authority. Essentially, they're like the speakers of the house, so to speak, if we want to go from a political standpoint. But essentially, those are the spaces that allow for authoritative action. In a sense, I can interact with my cognitive being through my thoughts, and I can utilize my thoughts in order to make a decision. In the same way, my spiritual being, I can interact with my spiritual being based on my beliefs, and I can influence those beliefs based off of practicing my spiritual principles or virtues, whatever you want to call it. And that plays an effect on how and what I am able to manifest. So again, that is essentially the idea of being. I'm going to get into a lot more videos talking about the spirit as I've described it here in the future. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, whatever it may be, leave it in the comment below. Smash that like button. Hit that subscribe thing if you want to hear more. Hit that bell notification if you want to be notified for every time I post a new video. And until then, I hope you grok. iGrok? iGrok. You grok. Okay, I'm done.